Hillary Clinton colluded with the Russians to take down Donald Trump. That's the news this week. So how did it all happen? The House Intelligence Committee issued a subpoena and was willing to go to court for it, for the banking records of Fusion GPS, which is the firm linked to the infamous dodgy dossier used to target Donald Trump by everyone here in Washington, D.C., including the FBI, the Justice Department, Robert Mueller, James Comey, and Democrats on the Hill. And of course, the media was inflamed by it as well. It turns out, because of the threat to their banking records, it looks like Fusion GPS, the company, somehow leaked to the Washington Post the fact that it was Hillary Clinton's campaign and the Democratic National Committee that was paying the authors of the dossier. And we also know, generally speaking, we don't know for sure, but it's been reported widely that the dossier authors were talking to Russian officials who evidently were just making up stuff about Donald Trump. Now, why is this important? First of all, we didn't know about it before. Hillary Clinton, the DNC, and anyone else who was frankly in a position to know was either lying or misleading in terms of failing to disclose their connections to this dossier. And the specific connections were through Hillary Clinton's campaign lawyer and Democratic National Committee lawyer Marcus Elias, who through his law firm paid this company, this Fusion GPS. Now, why is this important? This dossier was used, it looks like, by the FBI in part to request and perhaps obtain a FISA warrant targeting the Trump team. Maybe even Donald Trump himself, we don't know. I know they tried to. And also, remember, Comey kind of waved this document around at Donald Trump in a one-on-one meeting he had with him in December of last year before he was president. And I remember thinking at the time that why was Comey threatening him with this document or highlighting this document to him, which basically had all sorts of salacious things that were obviously not true. Frankly, I saw it as a threat. You want to keep me as FBI director, so I keep stuff like this quiet. This is what I have on you. Another reason why Comey should have been fired. But this is major news, because compare and contrast the issue of the Trump Tower meeting. Remember that meeting Donald Trump Jr. had last year with a Russian lawyer, and supposedly the issue of Clinton connections to Russia came up at that meeting? Well, now there's a special counsel looking into that. And that was, quote, evidence of collusion. And the White House is being subjected to criminal investigation in part because of that meeting. So the question is Robert Mueller, who is, as you followed on our previous updates here and in our work, is terribly conflicted. Is he now going to be asking Hillary Clinton questions about her collusions with the Russians? And the incredible thing is, there's no evidence that Donald Trump colluded with Russia on trying to get and beat Hillary. But there is evidence now that Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee was colluding with Russians to try to destroy Donald Trump. And not only that, but the FBI was also using the same firm that Hillary Clinton was paying. And the FBI at one point was considering, and we don't know if they paid them or not, but certainly wanted to pay them money to continue to dig up dirt on Donald Trump. We asked for information about the FBI's potential payments to the Fusion GPS and other documents that might detail what went on there. We've gotten the hand to the face. The FBI has told us that they can neither confirm nor deny that they have any such records, which isn't a yes, which isn't a no, which means you can't even find out what we might have. Well, isn't that interesting in light of what we now know? And I can tell you, I think the FBI is covering this up because they're embarrassed by the fact that they were essentially colluding with Hillary Clinton in this Get Donald Trump campaign. And I don't know what other information we need to confirm the point that the FBI and Justice Department were ruined under under Barack Obama. You had them protecting Hillary Clinton from the consequences of her illegal actions in her email system and targeting Donald Trump based on a political opposition paper created by Hillary Clinton, the candidate for president. And her FBI was using this, and their Justice Department was using this to try to get incredibly powerful FISA warrants to spy on a presidential campaign or his team or people close to him, or maybe the president himself at the time, candidate Trump. Really incredible. So is Mueller going to expand his investigation into what the FBI knew when it knew it? I have to think that Mueller knew about this dossier's ties to the Clinton camp as well. Hence the cover-up. And I said it once and I'll say it again. Mueller is compromised 6 ways to Sunday, and he can't be special counsel anymore. And I see finally the Wall Street Journal has agreed with me editorially. And of course there are constitutional concerns about the Mueller operation, which I've gone into in the past, but to briefly summarize, he isn't subject to confirmation, Mueller is not subject to appropriate supervision from constitutional officers in the United States Justice Department. Essentially, he's been allowed to come in and do what he wants, and no one's supervising him. That's not the way it works in a republic. So Mueller's investigation's been compromised by this document, which by all accounts is still being used by the special counsel, was used previously by the FBI, to target Team Trump. Now the left says, well, this was all started by an opposition, a Republican opponent of President Trump during the primaries. Well, I don't see any evidence that they were paying Fusion GPS to go to Russia to talk to anyone, and we still don't know who funded it initially. And I have a feeling if we knew, or that information was helpful to the cause of the left, we would know. So it's not really going to change the fact that Hillary Clinton was involved in colluding with the Russians through this Fusion GPS, through her cutout at the law firm, through her lawyer, Mark Elias. Someone else has filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission suggesting that they masked the payments to the Fusion GPS improperly, meaning they listed it as legal services when in fact it was political opposition research. And to misleadingly label that information on the federal forms was a violation of the law. But this is a test for Mueller or the special counsel, whoever they may be. Are they going to treat this evidence of collusion and meddling in the campaign, not that it's necessarily a crime, but they are considering it one worth investigating, and statements about whether they were involved in it as an area of investigation? Are they going to ask President Obama what he knew about this dossier? The DNC is controlled by the sitting president if the party is in power of the presidency. The White House is a political operation. You can bet they knew about it. So this is a big test for Mueller. I suspect he's going to fail the test. I think the special counsel investigation is going to implode and end with a whipper, especially now that the appropriate targets have been identified, which is the politically protected Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. And unfortunately, Jeff Sessions has recused himself from any such role in monitoring what's going on and directing the special counsel. Rod Rosenstein, the number 2, who is stepped into Sessions' stead and is appointed Mr. Mueller, is obviously oblivious to the conflicts and constitutional concerns. And I don't think he is going to do what is necessary to clean house. So this is why the president, however politically explosive it might be, should come in and shut down a special counsel operation. If there are crimes to be investigated, there's nothing that can't be investigated in the ordinary course by the Justice Department. And if there are crimes to be investigated, then there ought to have a constitutional special counsel that is politically, if the crimes are politically sensitive enough in terms of implicating Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, then maybe you bring in a special counsel with the checks in place that I think need to be there to investigate this. But Mueller is conflicted, especially in light of the news last week, in which I talked about that they had Mueller's FBI and Comey's FBI and the Justice Department watched as tens of millions of dollars went into the Clinton Foundation from the Russians in an attempt to sway decision-making on this Uranium One scandal. And the FBI and Justice Department minimized and slow-walked the investigation and protected Hillary Clinton. So now Mueller's implicated, and his decision, at least his decision-making, is implicated in this, in addition to all the other conflicts he has as being close to Comey and such. So this is a big deal. The Russia scandal is no longer about Donald Trump. It's about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, their Justice Department and FBI. And neither agency can be trusted to tell us the truth about what's going on. As I said, they're stonewalling our request for information. Judicial Watch is in court trying to get the truth. And as I said in the beginning, the House Intelligence Committee actually went to court to try to get the truth. And we need more of that from the House and the Senate. And certainly we've been pushing hard on that. And the chairman of the committee, Devin Nunes, Republican from California, has been excoriated and attacked by the Democrats and the media for doing the right thing. And it shows you when you have committed leadership, you can get oversight that advances the public interest. We've got big news to report in the form of new documents we obtained as a result of a Judicial Watch Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. This one, we were asking about Andrew McCabe's conflict of interest documents. Who's Andrew McCabe? Well, he was a senior FBI official. In fact, for a period of time between the time that Comey was fired and FBI Director Wray was appointed, he was the acting FBI director. So a very senior guy in the FBI, but a compromised person by all accounts, because his wife, when she was running for office in Virginia, received about $700,000 from Governor Terry McAuliffe's political operation. And who's Terry McAuliffe? He's a Clinton crony. He's about as trustworthy as Hillary Clinton is on matters of ethics and following the rules. People want to know why it is that Mr. McCabe, who was so beholden as a result, evidently, of his wife's significant intake of money from McAuliffe, was anywhere near the Clinton investigation. Well, the news is that McCabe, despite all the concerns, didn't recuse himself until November 1st of last year, just a week before the election. If that doesn't show that the FBI investigation was compromised into Hillary Clinton's email practices, I don't know what will. He just waited until after everything was done, practically speaking, before he recused himself on the issue. What a development. The FBI is a mess. Mr. McCabe is still there. Let me go into the details. So in March of 2015, his wife began her campaign. And so what the documents show, by the way, we had to sue for these documents. We started asking for them in October of last year. And it took a federal lawsuit and about a year to get them. So it shows you why they were hiding it, because you're going to see the details are pretty extraordinary. So the thinking was that he might have to recuse himself for matters related to Virginia. All well and good. But the matters related to Virginia, he was only recusing himself for during his wife's campaign, which ended in November of 2015. Now, why is that important? Because Terry McAuliffe was also under criminal investigation by the FBI during that time period. So after November, he could be involved in the McAuliffe investigation? How does that work? Only in D.C. would ethics allow you to do that type of activity. So these are what the documents confirm. That's the case. The documents also confirm he was never recused from the Hillary Clinton investigation. The documents confirm he was never recused from the Hillary Clinton investigation. He may have been recused from the McAuliffe investigation for a period of time, Hillary Clinton's crony, but not from the Clinton investigation. Now, again, it would be difficult to overstate the connections and the closeness between McAuliffe and the Clinton gang, but Mr. McCabe saw no problem with being involved in this. And what was his involvement? Now, we received the talking points from the FBI. These talking points were unredacted, unlike the Clinton Lynch Tarmac records talking points the Justice Department gave us. And the redactions, or excuse me, the talking points say that he didn't have to recuse himself. Well, he wasn't involved in the Clinton investigation only to the extent, while he was at the Washington field office of the FBI, he made resources available. But they say he wasn't told what the resources were for. They don't say he didn't know what the resources were for. And of course, come in January or early 2016, he became a senior official in the FBI and basically oversaw the Clinton email investigation. So he receives $500,000, his wife receives $700,000 from Hillary Clinton's friend, and he's still involved. Now, when people were complaining about this, we were told, oh, there's no problem. He didn't need to recuse himself, and what are you talking about? And this is what's extraordinary. In November, and the documents show on November 1st of last year, he did recuse himself, which raises the question, why didn't he do it earlier? And if he should have done it earlier, it means, again, it's just further indication, because there's all sorts of other information, that the entire FBI investigation was a sham and compromised. The president needs to direct the Justice Department to restart the Clinton investigations. Redo them. Have honest folks come in, or people who the American people will have confidence can fairly administer justice and fairly investigate this to figure out what went on. And on top of that, they need a clean house at the FBI and Justice Department. Because if this is the ethical norm at the FBI, that's a disaster. It's a disaster for the FBI to the degree it has credibility, and it's a disaster for the American people, which needs a law enforcement operation that is honest. And once again, Judicial Watch got these documents. It wasn't the liberal media. It wasn't Congress. It was Judicial Watch going to court. Now, this is only one of, I think, 4 lawsuits we have about what McCabe was up to in the FBI. By the way, Mr. McCabe is still there as the number 2 under President Trump's new appointee, FBI Director Wray, W-R-A-Y. So there's still more information coming. What else is going to pop up? Someone needs to take a look at the way the FBI is being run, and we should reflect on the fact that, again, Wray was Comey's guy. And essentially the leadership of the FBI still, even though there's a Trump appointee running it, is our holdovers from the last regime. And we need the clean house, not just at the director level. Presumably Wray is better than Comey, I don't know. But certainly it's the entire leadership of the FBI that we need to rethink. So this is why this is a rule of law crisis. We've got evidence that the FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton was compromised 6 ways to Sunday. The latest being the fact that after the damage was done, the guy everyone thought shouldn't have been involved said, well, I'm not going to be involved anymore, just before the election. And I'm sure the thinking was, Hillary's going to win, so my job is done. That's the conclusion I draw. What a nightmare. And Congress has got to get its act together and start taking these issues more seriously. And this is why the president is upset, because he sees this just as much as we do. He understands it. I have no doubt he doesn't understand it. Indeed, he's been tweeting yesterday and today, why isn't there investigations, Justice Department investigations of the Clinton gang? And I think that's a fair question. It's even worse than that. Not only are they protecting her from investigations, they're defending her in investigation and in scandal after scandal related to Hillary Clinton. Now, you're going to be upset when I list them all for you. So we've got this issue of they're not investigating her, but it's even worse than that, they're defending her. And beforehand, I wrote down, I have my handy list of notes here, list of cases in which they're defending her. Now, of course, I've told you about the Clinton emails. The Justice Department is defending her on the Clinton email matter. They're defending the State Department and other agencies who are stonewalling us and making our lives miserable legally in trying to get access to these records. Remember, it was Justice Department lawyers who on behalf of the State Department earlier this year said, well, we shouldn't have to release these records quickly, these Clinton emails quickly, because there's diminished public interest. Well, isn't that convenient? So now this Justice Department, along with the State Department, has proposed a production schedule for 70,000 new Clinton emails that would have them be released to the American people, if at all, have them released to the American people by the year 2020. So we won't see them all till 2020. And by the way, that only begins the battle, because they'll be withholding documents. We may be fighting many years after that over documents they're withholding. You have this Justice Department blacking out the Clinton-Lynch tarmac meeting talking points used by Loretta Lynch's Justice Department. You have this Justice Department defending, along with other Trump agencies, or nominally Trump agencies, they're defending Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified information. The law requires a damage assessment be done if there's a belief that classified information was breached. And there is that belief. The agencies have no doubt that was the belief. But you have this Justice Department coming in on behalf of these agencies saying the breach wasn't serious enough to warrant an investigation or into a damage assessment. Again, protecting Hillary Clinton. Because if you do a damage assessment and a damage assessment shows that there was damage to our national security, it becomes harder to maintain the fiction that she didn't break the law in mishandling this classified information on her private server. They're also coming in and working with the FBI and trying to convince the court that they don't need to do anything else to find where Hillary Clinton's deleted emails are and other records she may have spirited away from the State Department. Again, this is the Sessions Justice Department, not the Obama Justice Department doing this. We're also seeking to put Mrs. Clinton under oath, to depose her in a Benghazi lawsuit that we have, a FOIA lawsuit. You know, her misuse and mishandling of emails and her hiding emails from us. We want to ask her questions about that. We've already deposed her aides in another litigation last year. We deposed Yuma Abedin and Cheryl Mills. Yet this Justice Department and this State Department has come in and told the courts that Judicial Watch shouldn't be allowed to ask Mrs. Clinton any questions about her emails. Can you see why the president might be upset? And it's even, I'm trying to make sure I got it all. Oh, even better, Whitewater draft indictment. So Hillary Clinton, this is not the first time she's had criminal investigations into her. Back when she was First Lady, she was almost indicted for lying and obstructing justice and engaging in fraud. And the indictment was drawn up and there's a draft. We kind of know what's in the draft, but this Justice Department is defending to the hilt the secrecy about that draft, trying to say that Hillary Clinton has a privacy interest in not having it released. They're going out of their way to defend Hillary Clinton. So, Hillary Clinton is back in the news again, because she's outraged. It would be abuse of power for anyone to ask questions about what she did in terms of corruption. Of course, it isn't, that's what the quote is, by the way, because there's been this noise by Jeff Sessions, who testified this week, that he'd be willing to consider a special counsel for Hillary Clinton. Now, of course, I don't know what's going on. I think the Justice Department is adrift AWOL when it's, and at worst, it's defending Clinton corruption. So I find it highly ironic that Hillary Clinton's complaining about abuse of power. If there's anything, the Justice Department has been hijacked to protect her. We already know it was corrupted last year under Comey, Lynch, and Obama in terms of protecting her. It became an arm of the DNC and her campaign. New emails discovered this week. Just this week we uncovered new emails because of our litigation. Not anything Congress did, not anything the media did. It was our litigation that got the new emails. These are emails that were uncovered as a result of the FBI being forced out by Judicial Watch's litigation to try to go and at least have the semblance or appearance of an investigation. They went and tried to find some of the emails that Hillary Clinton took with her and deleted supposedly or did not return. And they either recovered the emails forensically or they found them elsewhere. It's not clear because the FBI doesn't want to tell us what they did. But the emails are being dribbled out in piecemeal fashion at 500 pages a month, which is outrageous, but they're coming out. And so there were 108 pages of new Clinton emails that we found just the other day that were posted on the State Department website thanks to our litigation, including classified information and more issues about pay-to-play. Classified information relates to Libya. Classified information relates to Egypt, relates to Kuwait. It's all there. Cheryl Mills, by the way, Hillary Clinton's chief of staff and chief enabler in many ways, she's writing to, Hillary Clinton sends her an email, which is completely redacted by the Trump State Department run by Rex Tillerson. So just remember that. Rex Tillerson is still protecting Hillary Clinton. So they completely redacted this email. Redacted is a legal word. I'm not a lawyer, but it's a legal word for basically blacking out or blanking out so we can't see it. And Cheryl Mills then sends an email to Yuma Abedin, you know who she is, and Maggie Williams, you may not recall, but she was Hillary Clinton's top aide in the White House. And she went over to the State Department. I forget her position at the State Department, but she's always been in Clinton world. And Mills emails, I am purposely on Gmail, meaning she didn't want you to know about it, what she was writing. Clinton is seen as expediting a request for citizenship so that the requester can get a job in policy or law enforcement. And who was she doing this through? Yuma Abedin. Did you know the Secretary of State, if you knew her, she could get your citizenship quickly? Boy, I'd like to know the details about that. Donor to the Clinton Foundation needed Clinton's help in setting up meetings in Asia. Of course, she responded positively. So these new Clinton emails add to the pile of evidence demonstrating the urgent need for a serious criminal investigation, finally, of Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton says it would be abuse to do that. But we've got the documents. And there's no excuse at this point for the Justice Department not to do something. Frankly, I don't know what Jeff Sessions is doing, whether he's recused himself or who's making what decision there, hence the confusion. I don't even think they need a special counsel. They just need competent U.S. attorneys, competent and trusted FBI agents. Maybe they bring in outside investigators because I don't frankly trust the FBI these days. But there needs to be a serious investigation. And the politicians don't want to do this, I'm telling you. I think the president does, but the bureaucrats don't. And I think Sessions is listening to the bureaucrats rather than the American people on this. So he's going to get a lot of pushback. So Robert Mueller gets appointed as special counsel as a result of a crime, it looks like, by James Comey. Comey leaked, remember, that memo about his conversation, or his alleged conversation with Donald Trump, in order to get a special counsel approved. Now, that wasn't his memo to leak. It was a government document. He had no right to leak it, and it was a crime, arguably, to leak it. Mueller gets appointed as a special counsel. Here, with Hillary Clinton, you've got these mountains of allegations about pay-to-play. Uranium One. I mean, that is just the tip of the iceberg, the Russia money. The Clinton gang, Mrs. Clinton and Bill Clinton made $48 million while she was Secretary of State. Much of that came from abroad. So Uranium One would, to me, be one of many issues you'd be looking at. So you get an improper special counsel, improperly appointed, to look into a fantasy allegation. And here we've got in-your-face violations of law that the Justice Department is tying itself in knots over as to whether to investigate in a transparent and effective way. So what is Judicial Watch going to do? We're just going to keep on doing our work. We're just going to get the emails. We're going to make sure that there's accountability, at least through this process. And the American people are just going to get angrier and angrier at this. And Jeff Sessions needs to understand that the American people want this to happen.